Okay, this open meeting of the Town of Auburn of the Board of Selectmen is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of all open meeting law to have all open meetings in the public.
This conference will now be recorded.
Location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, you can dial 1-408-650-3123 and access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via computer at www.global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials have been provided to the members of this body and are available at the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. And with that, we'll do a roll call. Mr. Carpenter? Yes. Mr. Chambers? Here. Ms. Ruppel?
Here.
And the chair is present. We have everyone present. We'll now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Sharon, did we have any public comment?
We do.
We do. Okay, and we have Ms. Goodrich. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Select Board members. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. So I'm here for a bittersweet announcement. As you know, the town manager has announced her retirement, and her last day will be January 30th. Well, we couldn't let her leave town without a proper send-off and farewell. So there will be a retirement party open house on Wednesday, January 18th, 4:30 to 6:30 at the Packagug Church. I know there will be lots of people who will want to come by and wish her well and, thank her for all she's done for the town of Auburn. So it's not, it's not a sit down anything. It's just more, like I said, of an open house. Come by and say hello. There will be light refreshments served. But mostly we want to be sure that the town manager has a send-off party that she deserves. And with your large audience watching, I'm sure that the word will get out there. So, of course, it's difficult to get invitations out to everyone. If you try to send an invitation out, you're going to miss someone. So, again, I appreciate the opportunity to share this information. Everyone is welcome to stop by. I'm sure in that 2-hour window, we can get lots of people to come by and acknowledge the great work that the town manager has done. So if you have any questions, there's a couple of us working on it, but reach out if you have any questions.
Timing is perfect. I was asked in the past week by no less than 10 people about what we'd be doing. So.
Yes, so Wednesday, January 18th, 4:30 to 6:30, Packagug Church, light refreshments. And if you know how I plan a party, light is really not the right word to use.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, we'll move to the presentations. First, we have a petition by National Grid and Verizon New England for pole location on Commonwealth Avenue. And we'll need a motion to open the hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. Is the petitioner joining us online?
Yes, good evening. My name is Rob.
Good evening.
Can you hear me all right?
I can. Could you state your name again? You broke up right when you were saying your name.
Sure, not a problem. My name is Rod. I'm here.
Did you get that, Sharon? One more time. I apologize, sir. Okay.
No problem. I'll try one more time. My name is Rod Green.
Yes.
And I am here to represent National Grid for the poll petition.
Excellent, excellent. You may proceed.
Sure. So this first one I do believe that is on the docket is for 10 Commonwealth Ave.
Correct.
Sure. So this one is a pretty cut and dry one. It is a proposal for pole 3, and it is a new pole to service a new house on the property of 10 Commonwealth Ave.
Okay. All right, and board members, do you have any questions? No questions? Town administration?
All set.
All set. And do we have any public comment? Yes, if you could just go to the podium and state your name and address, sir.
Michael Dash, 26 Oakwood Ave. I'm noticing, is the wiring coming down from Oakwood Ave or coming up from Commonwealth Ave?
Did you hear the question, Mr. Green?
The wire, yes, I heard it. Yes, absolutely. Sure. So, yes, to address your question, it is coming down from, I believe, pole 8 is the number.
Okay.
That is at the corner of 26.
Okay, sorry. I also noticed that there's a green tag stapled to a tree in my yard, and the 2 branches were already cut off that tree without my permission. Is National Grid going to be cutting more off of that tree?
So National Grid will not be touching any limbs off of that tree. That would have been on the builder's side of things. If they had cut the limbs, that was what they had done to make an aerial.
Okay, but there's a green tag stapled to the tree, which made me think that there's going to be more work done to that tree. And it's on my land, so they really don't have permission to do that.
Absolutely. I totally understand your concerns. What I will do is I will reach out to the builder, and I will make sure that nothing else is being done to that tree.
Okay, thanks. That was all I needed to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. No further questions of the board? No. All right, seeing none, I'll need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
And do we have a second? Motion and a second. Okay. And do we have a motion you have the wording right here.
I'll make a motion to approve the petition. Do I have to read the whole thing?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the National Grid to install one JJO pole on Commonwealth Ave beginning at the point approximately 180 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Oakwood Avenue, and install one new 35-foot Class 4 pole on Commonwealth Avenue to service electricity to the newly built home on the property of 10 Commonwealth Ave.
Okay. Motion's been made. Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote. Thank you, sir. All right, and
Thank you.
Moving on to the next one, we have the petition by National Grid and Verizon New England for pole location on Chestnut Avenue. And again, do we have a motion to open the hearing?
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. All right, and back to you, Mr. Green.
Sure thing. So first off, just want to apologize if I interrupt. I'm having just a little bit of a delay on my side, so I do want to apologize.
Not a problem.
Sure. So with this one's a little bit of a different scenario. It is for 2 new houses on Chestnut Ave. Both are 63 Chestnut and 65 Chestnut. And the existing pole number 2, is proposed to be removed, and a new pole number 2 to be installed approximately 40 feet northeast of the existing location.
Okay. And do we have any questions of the board?
Through the chair, is that movement for both houses? So both houses can utilize the same pole?
I'm sorry, if you could ask the question one more time, I would appreciate it.
Sorry. Is it to provide service to both houses? Are you moving the pole to provide easier service to both houses?
Yes, that is exactly correct. Currently, pole number 2 is smack dab in front of, in front of 63 Chestnut Ave, that property. And it kind of proved difficult to serve both houses. So with the relocation, it'll make things a lot smoother for the service of both houses.
Thank you.
Any questions from town administration?
All set.
All set. And do we have any public question or comment? Seeing none, I'll need a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye, it is a vote. And do we have a further motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the petition for National Grid to install one jail pole on Chestnut Ave and move one jail pole on Chestnut Ave beginning a point approximately 160 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of June Street and continuing approximately 40 feet, in the northeast direction. Install one new 40-foot Class 3 pole P2 on Chestnut Ave, 49 feet northeast from existing P2 pole and moving existing P2 pole on Chestnut Ave.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye, it is a vote. You're all set, Mr. Green. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Board of Selectmen. I appreciate your time and have a good evening.
You as well. Thank you. All right, we have no communications, so moving on to select board general items, we have gift acceptances in accordance with MGL Chapter 44, Section 53A. And you have that in your packets here. Yeah. That's actually two separate. We can approve them together, though?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, do we have any questions from the board? Okay, and do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the gift of $50 to the children's program fund of the Auburn Library from Library Post and $40 in the aquarium card to be used to purchase 2 knitting bowls, also to the public library.
Okay, motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. Thank you. Okay, and moving on to town manager items, we have the potential vote on premium pay, the ARPA funds for municipal employees. Ms. Jacobson.
Great. Through the board, thank you. Can everybody hear me? All right. Thank you. Good evening. We are here again tonight to talk about the memo that I had prepared and presented to the board on November 28th. And I believe that copy of that memo was in your packet again this evening. That memo was a culmination of many months of research and analysis on the category of premium pay, the eligibility for premium pay under federal law, and an analysis of what other communities are doing and what potential options are out there. As a result, we put together 5 proposed options for the board to consider. And I just want to state again that, yes, we have said that we want to give the bulk of the ARPA funds, which is approximately $5 million, toward items that benefit the taxpayer, benefit the community as a whole. I will tell you that this proposal proposes approximately 5 to 6% of those dollars, so the overwhelming majority of those dollars would still be recommended to go toward infrastructure, communications, AYFS, other needs that have been identified and previously discussed. But I think this is an important allocation of resources through the ARPA funds to recognize our town employees who did make personal sacrifices. They made personal health sacrifices, they made family sacrifices, and in some instances, they made financial sacrifices to do their jobs on behalf of the town of Auburn. And I know people say, well, that's their job and they were paid for it. Yes, that's true. That is their job, and yes, they were paid for it. But ARPA dollars under premium pay are designed to recognize and address those employees or those personnel that had increased risk of exposure, that had conditions that others did not have to tolerate during COVID. They were not able to stay away from the public. They had direct contact with the public, and they had direct contact with others who had COVID. As we all know, our employees did a phenomenal job across all departments. Every department was critical. Every department is essential. I'm not here to tell you one department is more essential than the others. We all know they're all essential. From the line workers all the way up, everybody played a role. So what we've done here is to show you 5 different options where the board could look at the different ways to acknowledge and recognize their service to the community. Some of the options are based on the amount of time that they spent working on-site or off-site. That's what a number of communities did do, so we put that in there. There are some options, conversely, that don't focus on remote or not remote. What they do focus on is exposure and what type of direct exposure did they have and how often did they have that. And from town administration's perspective, I believe that we feel that's the better way to approach this, is to look at the risk and the exposure that these employees took rather than looking at the on-site, off-site, because certainly there might be some employees who were working off-site for some of the time, but they had more direct exposure on the times that they were here. So that would not be something that we would think would be the best way to do it, but it is an option, and it is something that other communities have looked at, so it is there before you. I think we've put a number of things out here, and any of these, again, any of these can be mixed and matched, so to speak. So I just put together these options to try to come up with a dollar amount that was approximately $300,000 for each option. That has to be further analyzed through our payroll to see exactly who was here. We have a good idea. This is based on 138 full-time employees. I would say it's about 12 part-time employees who would be prorated. So we're really not talking a significant amount for the part-time employees. We would also recommend that we do this for the 15-month period that COVID was declared a state of emergency in the Commonwealth, which was March 10th, 2020 to June 15th, 2021. We would suggest that those employees who were part-time be prorated for their payments, and that this would only be eligible for those employees who are currently employees. We were asked by the board, and we did go back and look at that, what would happen if we were to go to employees that are no longer employed here, but were here during that time. And I don't want to say that further analysis is needed, but more in-depth analysis is needed, so I can just give you a general idea. I believe there's probably somewhere between 30, maybe even 50 employees that are no longer here that were here during that period. Some were part-time, some were full-time. We are excluding seasonal and temporary from this, so we don't have to count that. So somewhere between that 30 and 50 mark. Well, I'd like to say all those employees retired here under good graces. There may be some instances where that didn't happen, and that's what we would have to look at. I don't believe that if there's a case where an employee was about to be terminated and therefore resigned, that we ought to be rewarding them with premium pay. I believe that should go to the employees who are currently still here, who did a great job, and are still with us and serving this community. But other mix and match things that we can do, like I said, some of these options had an option for giving additional bonus incentives to those who worked the clinics. That's a direct exposure. Those who worked those clinics were directly exposed. We have a number of employees who did that. We've tried to come up with an estimate of that. We also have put in here those additional funds for those who were vaccinated. Again, it's not to punish anyone who isn't vaccinated. Those people would still get the same amount as everyone else. It would be an additional incentive on top of it for those who were able to be vaccinated and did take that extra precaution against contracting the disease or spreading the disease to their coworkers or to the public. So those things can all be looked at. If you choose an option, we can go back and do the final analysis on that option. We can take from some of the other options and add to it and come back with a final number. I think our numbers are close enough. I don't think there's going to be any extreme deviation one way or the other. The numbers are pretty much within the range. So we do recommend that this is an appropriate use of this amount of the ARPA funds. As you know, we are still looking at other uses of the ARPA funds. Ed can contradict me if I'm wrong, but I believe we've allocated or appropriated about $2 million, and we have about $3 million remaining of ARPA funds.
If I can, out of the $5,011,000 that the town received, we have obligated all but $2,880,000. So that's what we have left. I think the last time we came to the board, it was just under $3 million, and I believe the AEDs committed a portion to get that amount down to $2.880 million.
And the SCADA too, I believe the SCADA funds.
That's
That
been
was
accounted
Pegasus,
for.
yes.
That was
So,
$120,000.
okay. So we will be back to the board. I say we, We will be back to the board with additional requests, primarily for HVAC. As you know, we're in the middle of having an HVAC study done to see what our needs are, what do we need to replace, upgrade, or start all over again in certain cases with the HVAC. So that's definitely a need. We have a study ongoing on some of the sewer, so we will likely be back with sewer. And there's a communication study that we just got the results of too. So we'll be coming back in, I assume, for that too. But we believe that this approximate $300,000 would be a good use of these funds. I think, I hate to use this word because I don't want to belittle this, but I think it's also a morale booster to the degree that we need to let our employees know that we care about them, that we appreciate what they did and we understand what they went through. And again, I know it's their job every day, but there are a lot of people who didn't do their jobs every day to the extent that our employees did, and our employees did their jobs very well. It was a tough time for all of us. I hope we never have to go through something like that again, but we did get through it. We all worked together, we collaborated, we found a way to adapt processes, change things, and get the job done. But it was at a sacrifice especially for those employees that had direct exposure to COVID patients and potential patients that we didn't even know had COVID, but they were out in public. So I would respectfully ask the board to support one of these options. We will work with the board, get the final numbers to you, do the final analysis. We just didn't want to put any more time in it on any one analysis. There's a lot of time to do it for each one of these. So to do for all five didn't seem to make a lot of sense. So this is the generic, and then we can go forward and really pinpoint this thing down, but it's pretty close. Thank you. Thanks for the time.
All right. Yes, Mr. Chambers.
Will these be direct deposit awards? Will there be a written check, some sort of handshake?
I think the method of payment would be consistent with what they're getting now, whether it's direct deposit. Most of our checks are direct deposit. We require direct deposit. Whether it's commingled in with the regular weekly or whether we do a separate payroll, it may be cleaner to do a separate payroll. It all depends, A, what option is selected, and B, how that earning is categorized in our financial software system. So we may be able to attach it to all of our employees. It all depends on the option, really. So that's a discussion I will have to have within the payroll department, but it can be tailored in many different ways.
If it's about the recognition, it should be set up.
Ms. Ruffin?
Is it going to be subject to payroll taxes for the people that receive it?
It will be.
Counted as their annual income
Under federal law.
for IRS purposes?
Yes, it would be
Okay.
subject to all applicable taxes. It wouldn't be subject to retirement because it's not part of their
Okay,
base wage, so it would be exempt from that.
okay, thank you.
Okay. So what's everyone's thoughts? Where are you leaning towards? I think we really need to start having that discussion now.
I'm ready to go if you guys want me to.
Sure.
So I made it clear where I stand, but I'm also willing to work with everybody.
Yeah.
I do feel the value in recognition, so I'm not against that, and it is important that it is separate if that's part of this goal. But I also would probably, and again, I don't know how ease of use, I'm thinking if we just make some pretty hard numbers of 100%, you get X dollar, 50 to 99.9%, you get X. Something easy to manage for everybody. And then, again, I don't know if you need to even include a booster piece of it. If you want to allocate the funds evenly, it's just one more administrative piece that needs to be managed that I don't think is ideal. But, and again, for me, if we were to, the 43 employees that worked 100% at 2,500, and then the 95 at 1,000, that puts us at like 202,000, which is still below what the 300,000, but allows that flexibility for other things that, again, I was looking for. So I put it out there. I'll let you guys discuss.
Through the chair, thank you. I want to add one thing that just occurred to me. The evening that we submitted this to you, you also received an email from the fire chief.
That's correct.
And I apologize, I should have mentioned that because it wasn't in the report that I was watching. The fire chief has also recommended that an additional payment of some sort be made to those paramedics and EMTs who worked on the ambulance.
24,
And I believe
correct.
there were 24. We can go back and check that. No amount was put out there. I think if you're looking at 24, and let's just round and just say you did $1,000 per, that's $24,000, just to give you an idea of where that would fit in here. So I'm sorry, I meant to add that in.
I wasn't trying to exclude anything.
Yeah.
No, right.
But, and maybe that's something that we discuss here too, is some sort of cap, and then we distribute the money underneath that cap. I don't know.
My position is essentially the same. I'm in favor of option C, and I do agree with Mr. Chief Coleman in regard to those 24 EMTs receiving a boost as well in addition to the money. I hate drawing lines in the sand like we're valuing any department over the other, because I think I've made my position clear throughout my tenure here that I very much support and appreciate all town staff. But I like option C. I think it's cleanest. My one concern about question C is, this town administration, do you think you'd receive any challenge if you made the decision on the second piece of it, the $1,000 for on-site inspections and responded to calls? I think that's clear enough, but do you have do you think you'd have somebody taking
I
it?
think that's clear through the chair. So option C, for those who don't have this in front of you, is to look at providing a premium pay straight amount of $3,500 to all fire, rescue, and police department employees. Then to employees who performed on-site inspections and responded to calls that had direct contact with the public on an occasional basis, that would be public health, building inspections, animal control, $1,000, and all other town employees not in those two categories, $500. Those numbers can be moved around as well, especially if you were to eliminate the vaccine booster or you change any of those dollar amounts. That was just an amount that was thrown out there.
Is it your intent, or could we add in the employees that work the clinic would be included in that second?
Yes, we could do that. Through the chair, that's going to be a little bit more challenging because some employees might have worked one clinic and
Okay.
other employees may have worked 15 or 20.
Okay.
So I think for that, I'd rather put a dollar amount of a per clinic, so it's fair to those
Was that
who
in one of
actually
the
did
options?
it. That is in one of the options, yes. We have that analysis back in the office too. There were, I forget the total amount of clinics, let's say there were 18 clinics. There were some employees that worked all of them, and there were some employees that maybe worked one or two of those.
Okay.
So I think under
Option
C.
D has a
Thank you.
$25 per clinic.
So paying by the clinic.
Okay.
I think if you wanted to smooth out the differential, so to speak, on option C, so right now, public safety is at 3,500, employees who performed on-site inspections, 1,000, and all other town employees, 500. You could move those numbers around too. I mean, you could do 3,000, 750, 750. You could,
Sure.
you could work with those numbers. They're only there to show you an idea of what it would look like, especially if you're gonna eliminate the vaccine, but you're gonna add in money maybe for the clinics.
Okay. All right, so that's really where I stand, guys. My, what I looked at, it does come in a little bit north of the stated amount here, 312, but probably more close to 325,000, depending on that boost to EMTs. But I just wanted to put it out there, like Steve did.
Okay, I'm happy to go almost either way, but I do think that however we work it out, I think retirees should be given consideration. They were here when this was going on, they experienced it, they experienced the uncertainty of it. I'm certainly willing to say if somebody left under less than ideal circumstances, they should be excluded from that, obviously, but I'm guessing of the 30 to 50 people who left, I'm sure that's a minuscule amount of people who left our town who did not serve with distinction as members of our group. So I would like to see those 30 to 50 added in, obviously excluding anybody who left under less than honorable circumstances.
Through the board, can I just ask for clarification? Mr. Carpenter, you're talking about retirees only? In other words, those who retired and went through Mass General Law through the retirement system, or are you talking about anybody who left and possibly went to another position but didn't retire?
I was looking up the 30 to 50, which I thought was simply retired.
No, that's all.
Okay.
Yep, that 30 to 50 would probably be those who left for other positions as well as those who retired. So it would be far less for
It's
retirees.
actually
Yeah.
get better, because then we can include more people, right? Yeah, I mean, if we can include everybody in that group, then yes, absolutely, because if they went to another community or went to another, they're not gonna benefit from, if they went to another community that received a bonus, and we don't know, they might come back to us at some point. I see somebody in the audience who left and came back. So we don't know, but we definitely want to, or at least I do anyways, feel that they should be given consideration, just because they did serve during that time.
So just to be clear, so we would be looking at those who retired as well as those who resigned
In good stead.
in good standing.
My, wait, I guess most, oh yeah, absolutely.
So we're doing this because we're getting aware of a lot of money from the federal government to do things. So I have broached the subject with town administration that we do want to make sure that legally we're not binding anybody in the future to doing this type of thing. Because we can't say in the future that the federal government or the state government is going to take out their rain stick and send it to us. So I just want to be clear that we, are very upfront. This board, this administration making this decision, we are not wanting anything to tie into future administrations or future boards who may not be similarly situated. We're thankfully in a good position because of, what the federal government has done. But we can't say in the future if they're willing to, or able to do that. So that's just something.
Okay. My one concern there is, and again, I agree with the overall point. I don't think the town should be making decisions. If somebody, say they were going to be fired and they left, the record is that they left. And to treat them any different otherwise, to go, well, we really know what happened, despite the record being I left, I think will put the town in some legal jeopardy in terms of, them making decisions on the employment and how it ended, where it really just was a resignation, despite the fact it could have been a fire and maybe had it gone on longer. So that's my only point there, but that's all I got.
Do we know how many actually retired through the system?
I'd have to go back and get an exact count. I don't have that exactly. When we pulled up through Munis, some of the names, I instantly looked at the list and noticed there were a dozen names that weren't on there of those who resigned, not necessarily retired. So looking at that, retired quickly, I would say probably 10.
And again, my concern is as we start getting into this, it's going to become a problem to manage. So the bigger the bucket and the more we can fit in it, probably the easier to do that.
I do think through the chair, option C is probably, we were talking about the easiest one to manage. It's pretty straightforward, regardless of if those are the dollar amounts you want to use or not. That would be a lot easier.
I'll spit out the dollar amounts.
Ms. Ruffey?
So I think I could go option C. I could go Steve's option as well. I agree with you that I am happy to include retirees, but I'm less inclined to include people that left for another job or were leaving because they felt that they might not be able to keep their jobs.
All right.
So I got half a load. Get the
raisins in it, though.
All right, so, does anybody want to put forward a motion?
I would like to take another meeting just to think about it. We've all thrown around a lot of dollars, and I just kind of want to have a moment to think about it, and I might have another question for town administration, just to find my way there.
Okay. You want to make that in the form of a motion, or does anybody else want to bring it forward tonight?
I guess when we started the discussion, it was so they could go back and do some more work. I don't know, are there any proposals that we would need additional information on that we can ask town administration to bring to the next meeting?
That depends on where, I mean, we have two people saying C, and we have questions about the additional EMTs, we have questions about retirees and people who left. Unless anybody's looking to go in a wholly another option, I think we could at least, if we want to focus it down, informally, you know, just talking up here, just so the town administration has some guidance. I mean,
I'm not opposed to option C, and we'll look at
the numbers.
The number.
Yeah.
I am probably more concerned with the overall number and what that looks like, so I know there's additional information that needs to be added there. Much like my colleague here, there may be additional questions that come out of that, and I don't know that I have enough thought at this point on those questions yet. But I definitely would pursue an option C.
Do we want to, again, with your guys' consent, ask town administration to look at option C with retirees, with people who left, just kind of showing us within those parameters what the numbers look like, and possibly, and again, no, I don't need anyone's commitment to the EMTs, but possibly with the EMTs as well, just to get more of an accurate figure.
Oh, I think the EMTs need to be included in that.
Is that doable?
That would be easier than having to, yeah, if option C is the way everyone wants to go and people just aren't sure what part of option C you want, it would allow us to go back and do some further analysis on C.
Okay.
We can show you with the additional, let's say $24,000 for EMTs. Without that, you can kind of mix and match and pick a menu. We can throw in there the clinics. We'll keep the vaccinations in there. You can remove them. You can.
I think, yeah.
It'll give you a
let's
better
give us the
idea,
options.
give you the options, and then you can kind of pick and choose.
And we'll do retirees and anyone who left as well.
We'll add retirees who've left under appropriate circumstances. I know that's going to be legally difficult. We don't have that many that maybe they didn't, but I just want to take a look at that.
I think we should include all retirees. I, like you, Mr. Chairman, are concerned about the potential liability if we say this one qualifies, this one.
Yeah, but you don't, and here's why. They go, but I
So either
left.
they're
I
all
didn't- I
in or
wasn't
they're
fired.
all out, but
Yeah.
Right.
if you want to see it all in, I think we can cost it out that way.
Yeah.
Then we define retiree as somebody that went through the system.
Yes, the retirement board, correct.
Yep.
We actually have that reference in our personnel policies and in a lot of the collective bargaining agreements also. They define retiring for purposes of certain clauses as those who go into Mass General Law, Chapter XXS. So yeah, that would be easy on that.
Mr. Carpenter, you'd want to see broken up between retirees and the people who left. We want to see both those figures.
If there's a concern that we're going to open ourselves to liability for those people who have left, then I'm happy to tackle it. I'm not going to, I too am happy to pursue option C with,
Great.
as long as we consider retirees who fall under the proper
Okay.
regulation.
That's great. That gives us a little bit more guidance.
Yeah.
So we can come back and now give you some more specifics. We can dive into munis and get all those costs for you.
Okay. All right, very good. So do we have a motion to continue the
I
matter?
would make a motion that we carry this over to the next meeting.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. Thanks, guys. All right, moving on to vote and accept and expend grant awards from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, Department of Fire Services in the amount of $4,381 for student awareness fire education, SAFE, and $2,277 for senior SAFE. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Through the chair, we, fortunately, the fire department and the fire chief is here, if you'd like to speak on this, but we did receive 2 grants from, one from EOPS, one for the student awareness of SAFE and one for the senior awareness of SAFE, and those dollar amounts are in here. So we're seeking approval, and this is for education and outreach to students and the seniors. So we're just seeking your approval to accept and expend these grant funds that were awarded.
Excellent. Any questions of the board members? No? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to accept and expend the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security Department of Fire Services grant with an amount of $4,381 for student awareness and $2,277 for senior SAFE.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. Moving on to 6C, we have vote to accept and expend state firefighter safety grant award in the amount of $12,382.30.
Through the chair, this is another grant that we're grateful to the fire department. This is to accept and expend a grant that has been awarded to us in the amount of $12,382. And I'm going to have to turn to the chief because my mind is drawing a blank as to the use of this. Was this for the equipment?
Thank you. Good evening, through the chair.
Good evening.
These grant funds will purchase 2 of the 4 sets of turnout gear for the 4 new firefighters that were recently hired.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, it was in the packet. I didn't notice it.
Any questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to accept and expend state firefighter safety grant award in the amount of $12,382.30.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye, it is a vote.
Thank you.
Okay, and any amendments, questions, concerns on the minutes from November 28th? Seeing none, we'll accept them as drafted. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote. Good meeting, guys.